welcome. My name's Marie and this is my yarn journey. Hope you are well. Today I'm here with a traditional podcast episode. So I've no finished objects, but I'm going to go through everything I've been working on in the last week, a few little updates, all that sort of usual thing. I've made a list because you know what I'm like for forgetting to tell you things. So starting with what I'm wearing now, I decided to put this on today because it is one of my older knits and I don't know if you can see it very well. It was one of the first few garment knits that I did. I've done this in a Rowan cotton wool blend, and I really like the fabric created by this yarn. It's quite a lightweight top, but I don't wear this very often, and if you've been here for any sort of time watching the podcast, you'll probably guess that I'm not a fan of this neckline. When I did knit this pattern, being that it was one of the earlier patterns that I knit, it was a little bit hard to follow because it doesn't really hold your hand. It doesn't do any of that. It's very few words. I think there's only a couple of pages in the pattern. I think now if I tackled it, I'd be absolutely fine. But it was a little bit harder for me to get my head round because I'd never done this construction either when I knit this. So problems with this neckline is the first one. Love this yarn, love the colour. But if you can see, and I don't know if you can tell because I'm quite close to the camera, I feel as though, and I'm going to just pinch it in, I feel as though, and I might be wrong, that it should be going across my shoulder like that. But unfortunately this top bit just seems to be too wide, but then the rest of the garment seems good. Oh, the other issue is I had no idea about my tight tension or my tight thing, and the bind off, I'll try and show you. It's so tight. The rest of the top's lovely and baggy and floaty around my tummy area, but then very stiff, which that's an easy fix. But I don't know, I don't grab to this because it has all this extra fabric here just bunching, and I just think if I just pulled it in like that, the fit would be so much better. Am I likely to go and fix it? Probably not. Will I buy this yarn again? Definitely. Will I do this pattern again? Maybe. I'm a much more experienced knitter now. Well, certainly with these modern methods and pattern writing styles. Certainly had plenty of practice in these last few years, haven't I? Yeah. So I just thought I'd show you one of my older knits, and I just fancied wearing something a bit different today rather than keep rotating the same 2 or 3 sweaters. But it is pretty cold at the moment, and I think it's been mentioned that we might get snow at the weekend, which I was like, oh, really? So this is the Collette tee, if I didn't say, by Witchery Designs. Have any of you knit this pattern before? I'd like to know anyone else's experience of knitting this. Okay, so now we're going to move on to whips. The main projects that I have been working on this last week, or the main project, is my Midland cardigan, and I've got a bit of a tale to tell you. Again, if you've been here for any length of time, you will not be surprised by what I am going to tell you now, because have I learnt from my past mistakes and everything? Of course not. So last weekend I cast on my Midland cardigan. I was furiously working through it. I'd done one of the front sections and done the shaping, and I was working across the back. And I'd nearly actually got to the end of the rows I needed to do for the back before starting the next front piece, because it's worked side by side, the Midland cardigan, which is by Laura Penrose. Knitting away, thoroughly enjoying it, mostly just garter stitch. So I'm just knitting away, knitting flat, which is a real nice change. And Monday I met with Mona for a coffee, and I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll take my Midland cardigan with me. It's pretty easy knit to be at the moment to knit in. I was just on a garter stitch section, no increases, no decreases, nothing. So I thought, well, this is going to be well easy to knit on. Gets to Starbucks and Mona looks at the knitting that I show her, obviously, and she's like, have you checked your gauge on this? I says, no. She's like, what size needles are you knitting it on? I'm like, oh, 4.5. I said, but when I cast on, I can't believe I'm admitting this. When I cast on, I wasn't sure if Laura Penrose was a loose knitter or a tight knitter. So I just used the needle size recommended in the pattern. She's like, right, what do you normally do? I'm like, well, I normally go up 0.5 millimetre all the time now. That's my standard, what I'll do in most patterns, because, or at least go up a needle size, because I'm a tighter knitter. And she's looking at me and she's like, right, she said, is this supposed to be the sleeve? And she held up the piece of the knitting. I'm like, yeah. She's like, it doesn't look very big, does it? And I went, look, it stretches. And then my front section as well, where I'd cast off, I'd just done a standard bind off. Now, I know my bind off is tight, so why I did this as well, I do not know. And I always do a combination. When I'm doing a standard bind off, I either do a full stretchy bind off or I do a half stretchy bind off where I do a normal combined. And I'd not done any of those things. Oh no, of course not. I just bound it off and carried on regardless. So Mona, bless her, checked my gauge, row gauge and stitch gauge. And lo and behold, I was nowhere near. The sleeve, the actual garment was, I was trying to convince her that it would fit me, but it looked like something that would fit a child, which is often what she says when I'm knitting things, that I look like I'm knitting for a child. So yes, that didn't really work out. So there I was in Starbucks, no knitting to do. So I thought, right, I just need to start this again. So far, it's not been that difficult. It's been a pleasure to knit. And I'm not carrying on with this cardigan knowing that it's not going to fit me, because it's not happening. So before I could even change my mind, I ripped the whole thing back, wound it up. Then the problem was I didn't have needles. So as Mona is always organised and has her stuff that she needs in her knitting bag, I borrowed some of her needles just to do a little basic swatch. Obviously not a blocked one, but a swatch nevertheless. And I did that on 5mm needles. And lo and behold, I was almost there with my stitch gauge. So I have since recast it on, but this is my lesson to you. Don't do as I do. Check your gauge before you've knit a quarter of a garment. Do what you know works for your knitting to get it accurate. At the end of the day, we carefully pick our size and we want finished garments that we love. I'm telling myself this more than anything else because I'm sure that nobody would be so stupid as to do what I did. Mona was quite rightly saying that it's just me, I get a bit overexcited, and that is true sometimes. It's like, oh, a new cast on. Off I go. Anyways, my knitting needles have been on fire this week, trying my best before the podcast, self-imposed deadline, by the way. So bear in mind, I restarted this on Monday tea time to actually get back to where I was before the podcast, and I have almost done it. So I'll get it and show you now. Oh, and this is in my tea cake and make bag. I got this not so long back, and it's really, really pretty. And certainly the size difference in this now that I am almost at gauge. And it does actually look like it is going to fit me. So this is what we're looking like, and I'm not sure you'll be able to see it very well. I am currently knitting on this section here, which is the back panel. And as you can see, I've done about this much. So I'm working away on that. I'll try and see if I can pop it over my shoulder for you. It's hard to say, but there you go. Already you can see, if you can see, because obviously I use my rear facing camera on my phone, so it's hard for me to know what you can see. But that's kind of how it's going to be fitting. So I think we're going to be all right there. It's definitely looking, and you see, I don't think this is going to grow too much when I block it, because most of the yarn that I've used so far in this garment has already been blocked, because I'm reusing it from that Salty Days sweater. So yeah, and I made sure to do a stretchy bind off this time at the front. I just did a full stretchy bind off because I thought I'm going to be doing a double knit button band on the front of there, so that will give it the structure it needs, rather than my tight knitting, which it would have just made it pucker and not look good. But I am so enjoying knitting on this. If you've looked at it and you're thinking that you might give it a go. Now, I mean, look, I've done this since Monday and I've already done all this. So one front panel is finished. Just working my way through the back. And then I will be casting on stitches for the other and working on the other front section. Some of this does look a bit wibbly wobbly, but a lot of that is to do with the fact that obviously I'm reusing yarn that I've already knit once. The yarn is this one. It's John Arbon Appledore DK in Quench. It's a lovely colour. It's a beige neutral with pink, blue and yellow fibres added in. I think it's going to make a beautiful cardigan. Hopefully now one that's going to fit me. I still can't quite believe I did that, but I literally just thought, nope, I'm making sure this is right. And I am getting it off the needles, frogged back into a ball, and knit at the correct gauge so I get the right size. So much more pleased with that now. The only other thing that, and obviously I've worked a heck of a lot on that this week. The only other thing that I have done is I did do a little tiny bit on my sock, and I'll just show you that. So my sock cast on is a DK weight. It is the ribbed sock by Summer Lee. Now, last week I really wasn't sure what I was going to be doing in the cast on video. I was umming and ahhing. So I literally had just cast on my stitch. I cast on 56 and I just left them where they were. Now, while having a coffee with Mona on Monday, I did discuss this with her. Because sometimes I do find that when you're trying to make a decision, you might still come to the decision by yourself, but it's still good to have someone to talk to it about. Now, she's made a suggestion, which I don't think I would have thought of, because what I was saying was that I feel a bit like my last few socks have been a bit baggy. My earlier socks were all too tight. And she suggested, which I wouldn't have thought to do, because the problem is I do tend to want to stay on pattern, as it were. And the whole point of knitting is customising things and getting a good fit and all that sort of jazz. So she suggested, so the options in the pattern were medium is 48 stitches, large is 56. And she suggested, after we'd discussed it, why not do 52 stitches? And I thought that was a genius idea, so that's what I've done. So I'm knitting this sock in between sizes. So I'm doing it in between a medium and a large. And yeah, it's just a 2x2 rib. Quite a simple sock. They're going to be house, hopefully snuggly house socks, similar to the Petite Knit Sunday socks. But I'm using a pattern from Summer Lee's book, The Sock Project. And it's a yarn by Blue Fern called Purple Quartz, which I got at Yarndale. And I've popped this little stitch marker on, if it stops moving about. And it matches, which is quite nice. So I may get some of that done today while I am editing, but I'm not sure what to work on. Oh, and that's in a lovely Willow Bay bag. A bit big for this sock project, but I just fancied using this one. Let me show you the liner. Really pretty. So yeah, I've got a bit of a quandary for what to knit on while I am editing, because I've got quite a few projects that I could knit on, but I have certain ones that I really need to make a bit of progress on. So what I did do last week when I was editing was I worked on my, and I've not moved me. Which ones did I think I was up here. So I think I only did 2 rows last week. So I'll just move my progress keeper up. And I've added in one of the colours finally that AJ sent me, which I'm really pleased about. And then I've added the 2 colours, last 2 colours in there. And I've done the one that AJ, which is the rainbowy one, and then this other colour at the top here, which I think was the one in my Advent. Really enjoyed knitting on that while I was doing editing. It's quite easy. I do have to look at the pattern, but once I've got going on a row, I don't then need to look at it. It's just the start of each row. This is how, that's the length of it at the moment, because it's this way up. It's going to be. Hopefully, because I want that to be the width. And I've got a long way to go with that, but I'm really pleased with how it's turning out. Loving all the colours, loving knitting in all my leftovers and scraps. I just haven't gotten around to doing it lately. The Midland Cardigan is so moreish to knit on, so that is what I'm working on all the time. I keep looking this way, sorry, but it's just because I've got my iPad on the windowsill here, just so that I can check I'm talking to you about everything. Okay, a couple of other things that I want to talk to you about, and the reason I'm talking to you about these other couple of projects, I've not worked on them yet, but I want to work on both of these for Fix It, Finish It February. So the first one is my Rocket Tea, so I thought I would just show you this. As you can see in the little bag here, I have got the next 3 colours, and I've got the white that I used for the I-cord edgings. Love how this feels. It feels lovely and soft and light. What I want to do is put my needle back in, hopefully on the last row of the stripe, and then add in 2 or 3 more stripes. And then I want to do this, but I am going to try doing the bottom one with an I-cord again. But what I did by mistake and only realised once I'd finished is the sleeves. If you look at these, I did the I-cord on there and I used a 4.5mm needle, and they don't roll or anything. Now I don't know if that's just because it's a short cap sleeve, but at the bottom of the body I accidentally did my I-cord, and I'll show you if I hold it up how it rolls. And it rolls up quite badly because I did it in the same size needle as the main body. So I think what I'll do when I do the I-cord again, I am going to do an I-cord again because I don't really want to do ribbon. I like the I-cord, but I'm going to try doing it in a 4.5mm. Now what I did need to check, and I've not looked yet, is if I made a note of the needle size I used for the main body there. I probably did on my pattern if I didn't in Ravelry, so I'll just find it. If I haven't said before, I view all and use all my patterns on my iPad, and I use GoodNotes to do that. Because I have the pen for my iPad, I find it really good. There's no bits of paper everywhere, and I can write all over them with notes and stuff. So let's see if I can find this rocket tee. Here we are. Just go back to the beginning of the pattern. Now the recommended needle size is 3.75. So I presume that must be what I use, because I have not written anywhere else that I've used anything different. So let me just check on Ravelry, because I know I put that project on here. I think I did. Oh, maybe I didn't. Oh, there we go. It's there. Well, that's helpful to know. So I can only assume that I use the needle size that was recommended in the pattern. So I am going to just go with that. And so it's 3.75. Like I say, normally I do write it on the pattern if I've cast on with something different to what's written there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to finally, trap my finger, to finally getting that one finished, because, well, it's not that it's not finished, finally getting it fixed is what I mean. Okay, and I also want to show you now my daft days. Again, I've not made any progress on this, but I thought talking about these 2 projects on this podcast will give me inspiration to get on with them. And I do want to fix that one and to get this one finished. So if you've watched my other video, I'm not sure, but I did make a decision because this sleeve is quite snug. So I've made the decision now that I am going to do this next sleeve, and I'm going to do the next size up for the sleeve, and I am going to, do that full sleeve, get it finished. It's not really a difficult knit. I do enjoy knitting this pattern, and the yarns are very nice. And so I am going to knit it, and then hopefully I'll then come back, and I'm thinking that I'm going to rip this out. It's just going to take a bit of yarn management and figuring out if I've got enough yarn left to redo the whole sleeve or not. Hopefully I will have, or it'll be some aggressive blocking. And this is the Daft Days cardigan by Rebecca Clow, and it is Cray Bear Designs, and I knit this with my Advent from 2023. It's For the Love of Yarn, and I have also using the Vilcolana Peruvian Highland wool. and it's in this grey colour. And I do love how the colours are on this, and I think that I will enjoy wearing this a lot. But it's just a case of, I got to the sleeves. The sleeve was too tight for my liking, and I kind of abandoned it then because I wasn't sure what to do. So just need to get my big girl pants on and get that next sleeve done in the next size up, because I've finally made a decision now. I feel like I'm happy with what I've decided to do with that project. Oh, and this is in another Willow Bay bag, and this is the one that Mona got me. Absolutely love this bag. So I'm going to go on to talk a bit more about future plans, that type of thing. I am going to be taking part in the Good Knits Cognac Cal, and I'll just tell you who that cognac pattern is by. I can get it up on Ravelry quick. So it's the Cognac Sweater, and that is by Atelier Casting, I think is the name of the designer. In this pattern there is 2 options. The options are for a I-cord edgings, finishings, or ribbed finishings. It looks to be a lovely sweater. I think it's set in sleeves, but I can't quite remember. Originally I was going to do it with so when I knit my Salty Days, I knit it with the Appledore DK and the Appledore lace, both in the colour Quench. Now, because I am now knitting something different and I've frogged that garment, I'm knitting my Midland Cardigan with the DK yarn, and I thought what I would do is pair these 2 yarns together. This is the lace weight, and this is a Zakami yarn that I got from the Wool Good Gathering. Here's the tag. And it's 100% Corriedale. Fingering weight, 400 metres in 100 grams, and it's non-superwash yarn. Because it's Corriedale, it does say that it is suitable for socks because it's a more sturdy yarn. So I did a swatch. I've not kept the swatch because as soon as I started knitting it, even without blocking, I knew it wasn't going to be a fabric that I would like. And the problem with these 2 held together, although the colour was wonderful, just what I thought it was going to be, unfortunately it was too loose of a fabric, because this pattern is knit at a 16 stitch gauge. Now, the recommended is to hold a fingering and a fluff together, and the purpose being that the fluff is going to fill it out. But obviously this yarn doesn't do that, so I decided I needed to try something else, and I wasn't really sure what I had in stash. And then I remembered that I'd got this, and I have actually got enough of this because I need 2 skeins of fingering, because I think it's 700 and odd metres that I need for my size. And this I've got 4 50-gram skeins, but it is 900, around the 900 metre mark, I think. And this is the Fibre Co, and it is Zero, and the colour is Graceful. Now, I wasn't sure what to use this for, and I knew that I wasn't sure that using this on its own would be something that would suit me, or if I would have enough yarn, to be fair. I got this from Northern Yarns not long after I got back into knitting, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I just liked it and picked up 4 skeins. But so these 2 together. What I will also say is that my 2, where's my, oh, it's here. And I've said this before, but sorry for the crinkling. My 2 yarns are quite different in colour. This one is more pinky and this one is more beigey. So I will be alternating those skeins. But because I've got this fluff that I'm using with it now, I think it is going to be a lovely combination. Now, I've done my swatch and shock horrors. I've actually blocked it, and I like the fabric I'm getting, and I am actually on gauge with this. I've gone up half a needle size though to get gauge, but I think that's going to be a fabric that I'm going to really enjoy. But like I say, going to be a bit of yarn management because I'm going to be holding 2 strands, but the fingering weight strand I will be alternating because I don't want there to be a massive difference in the fabric. But this has been in my stash for quite some time. Obviously I got the Karma yarn as part of my gift bag for the show, and I'm just happy to be using these 2 up, and they, you know, that I didn't know fully what I was going to use them for. I was going to use the Zakami to make a cloudberry tea without the flowers on the sleeves, but I actually think that it will look better in this way because I don't think you'll notice the colour differences half as much. So I'm quite pleased really. But I thought I'd do a swatch and then I'm ready for when I think the cast on day is the 10th. So but I'll need to check because I've not looked if Good Knits has put out a new video or anything with an update, because it wasn't necessarily certain that that's what was going to be happening. So have you knit the cognac sweater before? Are you going to be joining in with the cow? I think there is supposed to be prizes, so that'll be nice, won't it? Now let's just check my list and make sure I've told you everything that I wanted to tell you. Oh, next thing that I wanted to mention, I'll just bring my iPad over here, is just talk about East Anglia Yarn Festival. It's not long now, is it? About 5-6 weeks. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. We are stopping for 2 nights. We are at the social on the Friday, and then we are at the show on the Saturday. We've got a bit of a long train journey, 7 hours for us to get there, and one switch over. But Mona's very experienced on navigating the train system, so I'm not worried about that. And it means we get to, as long as we get a nice seat with a fingers crossed with a table, we'll get plenty of knitting time. Close to the time, I will have to think what projects I'm going to take with me. So let me know in the comments if any of you are coming, or message me over on Discord. I will obviously be doing a video at East Anglia, and so if you're not going, you'll be able to watch the video and get an idea of what the experience was like for us. Hopefully we'll remember to do a bit more chattiness throughout the time, but sometimes we just get swept away with enjoying the experience. The last thing I wanted to talk about was my goals, and there's a couple on there that already I'm looking at. It's only February and I'm thinking I'm not sure I'm going to get them 2 squares done, but I was looking at my Ula and Leah cashmere for knitting the checker plate sweater by Lily Kate Brantz, and I was hoping for that to be my March cast on. Unfortunately, I don't think that yarn and that sweater are a perfect match, so I am not going to do that. So who knows if I'll come up with something else to use the cashmere with before the end of the year, but it was one of my goals to use that, so we shall see. For my March cast-ons, I have decided that I am going to do the Eclipse top with the yarn that Mona got me from Chicago, and I have picked out some socks to do, and I'll show you the yarn for that probably next week or the week after. But I've got some John Arbon sock yarn, which is in a lovely pale grey, and then I have got a lovely vibrant purple, and I am going to do the Broken Rib socks by Summerlee. And I saw her, I don't know how I saw that pattern, if it was on her podcast or something like that, but yeah, I really liked them socks, and I realised I had yarn in stash that would work for that, so that's next month's. So that's my sock cast on for March and my garment cast on. I'm also hoping at some point in March to do my next series. So at the moment I am halfway through doing my so I've done a beginner knitting scarf series. If you have a basic tube scarf, if you haven't seen that yet, or if that's not for you because you're not a beginner knitter, you're an experienced knitter and haven't watched them, I've done I've done the scarf series. And then I have followed that up with the next item, which is a Musselburgh hat. And I'm halfway through doing those. And there will be hopefully a video out on Tuesday, which is the next step in that, which will be checking gauge and finishing the increases and transferring onto a 16-inch if you want to. And then there'll probably be one final one, hopefully the week after, and that will be decreasing and finishing. And then to follow on from that, I am going to do knit the no frill sweater with me. Obviously, I don't know when that will be, some point in March, hopefully. Hence why I think doing the Eclipse top as my garment for March, while I'm going to be trying to do those videos for you, is... I know I have a couple of people who watch my videos who are quite daunted by knitting a sweater in the round, even though they are experienced knitters. So hopefully that'll be something they'll enjoy watching to get an idea of how that's done. I've had the yarn in stash for quite some time for the no frills sweater, and so I just thought I would do that for an addition to my Learn to Knit series. And I don't think there's much of anything else that I need to talk to you about today. I have been reading still at night, and I've just got this little bit to read now in this book, and it's getting very, very good. It's this one, if you haven't seen last week's podcast. And my focus really is at the moment is the Midland Cardigan. I'm so enjoying knitting that. It's whipping up pretty quickly, seeing as I've knit that amount, that part of it twice, and it's only been, what was it, last Friday night I cast it on. So is that right? Yeah, that's right. This doesn't seem to be very long, does it? But I also, like I say, I do need to knit on my Musselburgh. Should I show you that actually? Where is it? Which bag is it in? Well, unfortunately, this is me doing a voiceover, because just as I was wrapping up on the podcast, unbeknownst to me, the battery had gone in my mic. So I was just trying to look for my Musselburgh project, which I never actually located, because I was trying to decide what project to work on while editing. Spoiler alert, I've worked on the Midland Cardigan again. I'm just enjoying it. It's very, very mindless, and so yeah, that was what was worked on while I'm editing this video. Also wanted to mention there will be a small extra video on the 12th to celebrate the anniversary of the channel. I can't believe it's actually been 12 months, and there will be prizes, so make sure you watch that one. And that's everything for today. Hope you have a lovely evening and enjoy your weekend, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.